I touched rim at 12 years old, got my first dunk as a 13-year-old, windmilled at 15, and hit my first East Bay at 15, and then went for some of the craziest dunks ever at 16 years old. And in today's video, we're going to be going over all the crazy things that happened during my dunk journey as a 16-year-old. Right after hitting my first East Bay and turning 16, I hopped on a coaching service called Jumpmaster X, previously known as Jump X, and started doing a lot more structured strength work. I had done strength work in the past, but it was just not super structured. As you can see, got a few more dunk sessions in before basketball season, going for dunks like behind the back. But like I said, shortly after basketball season started in late November, I was having practices 5 days a week, sometimes games on the weekends, and it was a lot of load on my body. Thankfully, I was still able to get a decent amount of jumps in games, after practice, after games, just whenever I could. Got some nice in-game dunks. Rarely was able to train, but when I did, it wasn't too bad. But yeah, at the start of the season, the majority of my jumps were just before or after practice whenever I could find time. But eventually, because I love dunking so much, I decided that after the 5 days of basketball, I would just take Saturday off and jump Sunday. Looking back, this wasn't the worst decision ever, because although I wasn't really increasing my vertical, I was at least maintaining, which is very good for in-season. However, this did definitely take a toll on my body, as I was super sore all the time and had the worst knee pain of my life. East Baying had always been my main goal, and after fatigue from basketball took that away, getting this one down, my second East Bay felt so good. Overall, wasn't jumping very high, and my knee pain was still very bad, but I still got to do some good dunks in games as well, which is super cool because I didn't really have very many in-game dunks before this season. Not to mention, most of my previous in-game dunks had just been baby one-handers, and this year I was getting easy two-handers, hanging on the rim. Felt great. Also forgot to mention that despite still having my Sunday sessions, I was still dunking in practice, in layup lines, all the time. This day right here was by far my highest jumping day at the time, which made no sense considering how much load I had been putting on my body and specifically on my knees, but I still hit some of my best dunks ever and my third East Bay, which felt amazing. This was definitely one of my best highlights of the season, catching a little lob off the backboard. Got teed up for some reason, but still really cool highlight. I live in Minnesota, and if you know anything about Minnesota, you probably know that it's super cold, but around this time, the weather started to get a little bit better, so I got to get outside for some low rim dunks. Low rim has always been a priority throughout my jump journey, as I can work on trick dunks that I can't yet do on 10 feet, and this session was very fun. I also got some close attempts at a double up East Bay on 9-9, which was the next dunk that I wanted to hit. But before that, I hit my first double up X, which went down pretty easy, as you can see. This session here is my first time dunking with someone since October, and as you can see, went very well. Hit a really good pump reverse, another 360 windmill. Got super close to an East Bay, but I did hit my first double up East Bay, which was super cool. Just watching myself do my dream dunk, but over someone felt so surreal, and honestly still does. Literally the day after that dunk session, I got this in-game dunk. First time dunking on someone, super fun moment, and this video did numbers on all my socials. Shortly after that, my basketball season ended, and it was time to get back in the gym. Decided not to play AAU this summer, and instead just go all in on dunking and lifting. Had a really good session to start it off, but then went to the Dominican Republic for a family vacation, which was very fun, but did not get to train much. Did get some dunks in though, which is super cool. After getting back though, I was back to lifting and low rimming to prepare for a session with Hunter, who is the guy that I hit my first East Bay with. We've had some really crazy sessions in the past, and this one was no different. Hit probably one of my best East Bays at the time, and a windmill off the backboard, which is a new dunk for me, and overall just had a really fun session. Also hit tried under both for the first time, which immediately became my main dunk goal to hit as a 16-year-old. This session here was my first time trying caffeine before a dunk session. As you see, went very well, jumped very high, and hit my first off dribble windmill. Around this time, I felt my body finally recovering from the long basketball season. My numbers started to skyrocket in the weight room. I was also healthy enough to do 2 dunk sessions a week, so I spent a lot of time low rimming, as you can see with the little 9-6 elbow here. In April, I got to go to Winona for a dunk session, which was one of my first times driving over an hour to dunk. The rim was 9-10, but I was still very happy with my performance and how high I was jumping. Also had some relatively close under both attempts. At this time, my training was basically lift heavy all week, low rim on Wednesday, and then hopefully, if I could, have a group session on Saturday. This worked very well for me because I was able to put on strength while still working on my trick dunks, and then obviously getting my max jumps in and getting some good content every Saturday. The group that I was dunking with for a lot of these sessions is called the Minnesota Dunk Squad, which is a group that I founded last year, and it is literally just a bunch of guys who love dunking, and we just get together as much as possible and try to put down the best dunks that we can. Someone I got to meet through the Minnesota Dunk Squad was actually T-Dub, a dunk legend, and we got to meet up with him and hoop and dunk with him, which was a really cool day. Before then, I literally had no idea that he lived in Minnesota. This session here, I started working on my off-dribble dunks, like two-hand tomahawks and a little two-hand reverse. Off-dribble dunks had always been a weakness of mine, and I really wanted to get better at them for some dunks that I have planned in the future. This session right here is probably my best session ever at the time. First time hitting 2 East Bays, and also just hit all my regular regular dunks. This made me feel very good because it was right at the start of June, and dunk camp is in June, and I really wanted to perform well in Utah. Right at the start of June, I also started to take my diet more seriously and cut down about 8 pounds before dunk camp. The week before dunk camp, I was in California and trained in my aunt's gym, and also got a dunk session at a local park, which was really cool. However, I didn't perform very well, which very well could have just been because of the dust, but when I came back, I had one last session before dunk camp on a Wednesday, put my elbow in the rim, jumped insanely high, and was very confident going into dunk camp. So soon after, I flew into Utah, and on Monday tested a 41.5-inch vertical, which is a 4-inch increase from the year before, which is absolutely insane. Touched 11.4 with a 710.5-inch reach. Immediately after testing my vertical, went over to throw down some dunks and hit 3 East Bays plus some other really cool dunks. But then I had to sit and wait another 3 hours before the actual Dunkademic session. It is important to note that during the vertical test and session afterwards, I took no caffeine, but later in the day, I did take caffeine, which is why I jumped so well. Still did not hit an East Bay though, which was a little sad. On day 4, I decided not to compete in any contest and instead just dunk with my friends from Australia. Did very well despite being insanely sore, and jumped again later that day at the pre-show before the dunk show. Literally 2 days after I got home from dunk camp, I got a last-minute invite to do my first contest, and I took the opportunity. Did pretty well. It is important to note that the rim was probably like 9.8, so a lot of these dunks probably wouldn't have gone down on 10 feet, but it was still a very fun contest, and I got a lot of experience from it despite coming out in second place. Missing double up East Bay in that contest really made me want to get better at that dunk, so I lowered it a lot and hit it on 10 feet the next session. Felt very good. During all these sessions, I was getting ready for Dunk Camp Wisconsin, which is in early August, and I was spending a lot of time on dunks like behind the back, hide and seek, under both, things like that. I was feeling very good during my low rim sessions. Literally everything felt super consistent, and I was hitting some new dunks as well, so I was feeling very confident going into Dunk Camp Wisconsin. So after a 5.5-hour drive and a couple days hanging out with Hunter and a few of the other dunkers, we got to Dunk Camp day 1. We're at a session with all of the pros, first time dunking with all the pros. Like, they actually invited me to dunk with them, which was really cool for me. Hit a lot of good dunks, including my first behind the back, a really good East Bay, and a lot of the other stuff. It just felt super good to dunk with those guys and perform well. At the time, this was definitely my best session ever, which was really cool and convenient considering it was a very important day with a lot of exposure. On the last day of the camp, I felt kind of sick, but I still competed in the 9-foot dunk contest, hit some really good dunks, and won, which was super cool, going back-to-back years in the 9-foot contest. Then later in the day, I also did the pre-show for the dunk show that the pros put on, and me and everyone else went really crazy. I hit a hide and seek, which I am the youngest person to ever hit that dunk, and one of the shortest ever, which was super cool. And the hype in that moment was just unreal. So that was a really cool moment. Probably my best dunk of the year. Hide and seek was a really cool dunk for me, not only because I was the youngest person to hit it, but also because that day was just going really rough. I started out good, but then just couldn't hit anything. So I decided to start going for the impossible, and bang, hit it first try. Surprised everyone, including myself, so definitely one of my favorite moments of the year. Literally the day after getting back, I had a dunk show scheduled. Actually, it was supposed to be a contest, but not everyone showed up, so it literally just turned out being a show, and I was the only dunker, so I hit a lot of cool dunks, and it was really cool. Pretty short show, but I'm really happy with how it went, and yeah, hit some nice dunks in front of a cool crowd, so it was a really fun day. A few days after, I went on a cruise with my family, obviously just for vacation. Definitely not the best thing for my jump journey, but it was a lot of fun, so it's fine. After getting back, some of my main focuses were low rimming and training. My training was going really well. I was getting a lot stronger, and I was preparing for a session in Winona, which is about 2 hours away from me, and I was going to go there with Hunter. So eventually, we got that done. We went to Winona. Me and Hunter met up right in the middle, and we had a really good session there. The rim was a bit low, but it was still just a ton of fun because it was my first group session since dunk camp, so it went overall really well. And hit a lot of good dunks, jumped really high. So that was one of my favorite sessions of the year as well. Shortly after my session with Winona, I had arguably my best low rim session ever. Hit an East Bay elbow, 2-hand East Bay, and some other really cool dunks on 9 feet. Also, training was going very well, as you can see, doing 300 on box squats for 5. So really just preparing for my vertical to go up. Not super high at this moment, but obviously going to go up very soon. Now, like I said, in these next few sessions, I was jumping very high, hit some of my best East Bays at the time. And during these sessions, I was actually preparing for a dunk contest that I got invited to about a year before. This dunk contest was going to be really interesting because it was basically me versus some of the best high school basketball players in the state who were all considerably taller than me, and I was definitely not expected to win this contest because I was by far the shortest. And yeah, just was not expected to win. But I show up, first dunk, try a double up one-hander over 2 people, missed my first attempt, but hit my second attempt. Really got the crowd going, perfect score. So my second dunk, play it safe and just do a simple 2-hand pump reverse. That moves me on to the next round, and my first dunk in the second round is a East Bay off the lob, which I punched. Definitely my best East Bay at the time. And yeah, that really got the crowd going as well. That was a perfect score. And my last dunk, I go for a double up X over 3 people, which I had never tried before, but it went down first try. Shut the contest down. Everyone loved that one. But yeah, won the contest. Super cool. Got a ton of exposure on, the Minnesota high school basketball pages, but also just really cool to win my first contest. Unfortunately, after the contest, I started dealing with some right shoulder pain. I'm not sure exactly what it was from or how it started, but during this time, I spent a lot of time doing lower rim work with my left hand. And this was a little bit frustrating because it was not something that I had done much in the past, so I was not very good, and it was very humbling. But at the same time, I got way better with my left hand. It was kind of a weird cycle of, thinking that my right shoulder was good enough to dunk, so I'd dunk with it on the weekend, and then realizing that I was still hurting quite a bit and going back to low rimming. But eventually, after getting enough rest, my right shoulder was good enough to go back to normal. And my first session back, feeling 100%, I was jumping decently well. The gym was pretty busy, and I was really just like kind of worried the entire time that I was going to have to leave because of how many people there were. But I started warming up, and I went for an under both and got really close. So I just started repping it out, and literally every single attempt got closer. I started back rimming it and just had literally my closest attempts to this dunk ever, which I had kind of been close to in the past, but definitely not this close. It was a really crazy day. Now in my head, I'm thinking, oh, this is great because I had planned the next week to go to Wisconsin, 5.5 hour drive again to dunk with Hunter, and obviously would love to hit under both in Wisconsin. So go to Wisconsin, feeling decently well. But then I just start to warm up and do more dunks that have more flexion in my abdomen and my abs, and I just started feeling this really sharp pain when going for dunks like East Bays and obviously under both. So it was still a really good session. I hit a lot of my best dunks. I just couldn't go for dunks like behind the back and East Bay and under both, which was obviously the dunks that I wanted to hit the most. On the bright side though, I did hit my first double up scorpion, which was something that I really wanted to hit as well. But any dunk like under both that has a lot of flexion in my abdomen really hurt a ton. I just had a ton of sharp pain during those, so couldn't do a ton of those. Don't regret the trip at all though. It was still a ton of fun, but that injury continued to affect me for a couple weeks afterwards. It was really just a lot of bad dunk sessions or below average dunk sessions, but overall pretty good training. Like my actual jump training, squatting, all that went pretty well. I was getting a lot of good reps in the weight room, but my dunk sessions were very difficult and pretty painful. So I was really just doing a lot of low effort dunk sessions and just trying to put all of my energy into training to jump higher so that when my abdomen was fully healed, I could go back to trying to hit dunks like under both before turning 17 because I did not have much time left. This was one of my better lifts during that time period. It was at a gym near my cabin, and during that session, I hit 185 for 3 on hang clean, and I also hit 295 for 3 or 5 on back squat. Can't entirely remember, but I was feeling good, feeling strong going into one of my last group sessions of the year, which was with the Minnesota Dunk Squad. While warming up, I felt pretty good, but I simply could not hit an East Bay, and that kind of killed my confidence to go for under both. So I tried it a few times, but simply was not going to go down. But I did hit a dunk that had never been done before, which is an inverted scorpion over someone. Really cool moment. Again, one of my best dunks of the year for sure. But I was still a little bit sad that I didn't hit under both because it was kind of like my main goal before turning 17. But I did have one more chance. So this session that you guys are watching right here is my last dunk session as a 16-year-old, literally the day before turning 17. It was not supposed to be a jump day, but I really just wanted to go for under both one more time, and I actually got pretty close a couple times, but unfortunately didn't go down, but was still an amazing year of dunking and made a ton of progress. Alright guys, that wraps up this video. This video took so long to make, so if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned because this is nowhere near the end. I've already had some dunk sessions as a 17-year-old, and they've been already way crazier than last year, so just keep getting crazier, guys. So again, if you're new, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned because I got a lot coming soon. And again, thank y'all for watching. It means a ton to me. Comment your thoughts, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.